like a schmuck who's sitting at his dining table.
You always look mysterious, though. Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, do I mysterious little? Yeah.
Let's be honest about this.
Yeah, you have mystery around you.
A certain je ne sais quoi, a certain I don't know how you say.
We'll go through it again for the assembly part. If
we will go through it again. So anybody who was paying attention just now, hopefully that helped. I'm looking at you, Scoop. But VJ, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
There's a question here of the if somebody's using a different.
There's an Oculus Go.
I think that will work. Yes, I believe it will.
Yeah. So
we need to give a link there.
When we
I think it'll be the same situation, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we get to that point in the presentation, there's going to be a QR code. You can either, take a picture with that with your phone, and then we'll also post the link to YouTube so you can actually follow along. So if you've got a different set of VR goggles, you can use those on the video.
Yep. You aching? Yep. Oh, some bacon. Yep.
Should we get?
He's a big pig. Yep. You could be a big pig too. That's from The Lion King.
Sure. You know that we're recording right now, right?
I did know that.
I think he's hoping that we're recording right now.
Yeah, this is my big break. This is my chance.
We might edit that out.
Timon! Pumbaa!
All right.
You got it. Thank you, Bo.
I'm going to actually start now. It's a typical sort of more casual RedBar gathering. So we want to welcome VJ Geronimo from Oris USA, who's I think that the idea of the goggles and all of that stuff and like I think that was that your idea, or was that you guys in the team that came together?
It was a group effort. It was a group effort on everybody's part. So.
Okay, great.
Well, it was fantastic. Oh, and there we are, Martha.
So I just like.
She's muted.
I'm gonna just hand it over to VJ for now because VJ, we like most RedBar people in North America know who you are already. They've probably met you in person or seen you on a virtual RedBar event or any other sort of things, because you're part of the community at this point. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and let you introduce this session, which is the Oris experience that we'll be doing for the next hour and a half. Thank you,
Kathleen. The first thing I would like to say is thank you to Kathleen, to Adam, to James for having us, and as always, as part of RedBar, really very much appreciative of that, and always happy to be a part and really enjoy being with you guys. And really, overall, thank you to everyone, to all the chapters, to everyone whom, as Kathleen said, I've had the pleasure to meet many of you over the years. Certainly, from doing meets in New York till Milwaukee, to the group in London, to all over the world, really, to kind of doing that. So I'd like to thank you all for having us and always making Oris feel a part of it. And, we really, really do appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts, and really love being a part of RedBar, and certainly all the things that we've done and collaborated with over the years. It's been fabulous. So the first thing I would like to do is introduce our team. So being a polite American gentleman, I will start with the people outside of the US. You can't necessarily see everybody, but we have Isra Shah, who's our sales and marketing manager in the UK.
There she is.
Many of you, who some have met or not.
Isra.
Hi.
Great. We have also Layla Kamali, who may or may not be on video. She's our region manager from Switzerland. She oversees the UK market and some other markets, so I'd like to welcome her. Moving on to Mark Coulier from Canada, who many of you know. I know our Canadian chapters know Mark very well, so I'd like to shout out to him. And then to our US team, Joanne Lee, who's I believe on camera too. She's our director of marketing, who many of you have probably not met, but she's there.
The best.
She's the best. She's very responsible for making a lot of this happen and today, and
Yeah.
along with our UK team and everybody. So thank you. Then for our sales people out in the field, who many of you in the other chapters know, Beth Haddad on the West Coast, Jason Lemaistri in the Midwest, who many of you know, and then also Mark Gertis in the Southeast, who you all know. So that's good. And then I just want to give a big thank you to our teams, in the US, our teams in the office in Norwalk, Connecticut, to the boutique in the UK, and to Mark and his and Andre at Swiss Watch Shop, who helped us get all the swag bags out to you guys, whom you've all had the chance. I know everyone's a little bit different, but there's certainly, we try to make it as best as we could so everyone can have it and be part of it. I'm sorry for those of you who didn't get it. I think we had a cutoff date, and we try to get as much as possible that we can get out there. So from the looks of Instagram, I've seen many of you have enjoyed those swag bags. Some of you have drank the booze already. So, which I understand.
Sorry.
No complaints. So in talking about our session today, I know you've had several sessions from different people, and I think what we wanted to do today was really make this about experience. We have our watches, which we all care about and love, and the watches, I think they mean something to all of us, and that comes from the experience around them and what they represent and what they do very much, right? So these sessions today, we try to do something a little different. Obviously it's been this period of COVID, and it's not the global meetup of in person that we had last year. It's not, but we're trying to do something to kind of show you guys, I really think, the emotion behind the product that we put together, like why we do things, not just the product itself. You've seen the watches, you've seen it, but we wanted to bring to you the experience of why we do things, and a couple of things today, some of the products we've recently introduced, and really show you why that matters to us and give you that experience. And quite honestly, these type of experiences are usually things we might do a press event and bring some press people down to show them, and then they tell the story of what it is. But given that this is virtual, and we're able to do this, we're going to try to technically pull off some stuff here and do some things, which we hope will work out from a technical perspective and give you guys really that experience. So in moving on to going on to like what we're going to talk about today and the agenda that's there, we're going to basically, being a truly independent company, we're able to do things that we really love. And I think that's something that we've been able to do and been able to really make a part of who we are as a brand. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Coral Restoration Foundation. So for those of you who may or may not know, we've started working with the Coral Restoration Foundation in Florida. They're based in Key Largo, Florida. We've had a relationship with them since 2014. Actually, was when we first started. And ocean conservation has always been something we've been focused on as a brand, as you all know and have seen over the years. It's not something we just started in the past couple of years. It's something we've been doing for many years. For over a decade, we've been doing things around ocean conservation. Before it was cool, so to say, to do things around that. We've been doing that for a long time. It's been part of who we are as a company. So the Coral Restoration Foundation first came on our radar back in 2014. When we had run this program called Sea Heroes with Scuba Diving Magazine, and what it did was it recognized people that did good work for ocean conservation over the years. And each month they'd have someone that was the Sea Hero of the month, and then at the end of the year, we'd pick a Sea Hero of the Year and we'd give them a monetary grant. So Ken Niedermeyer, the founder of the Coral Restoration Foundation, was our Sea Hero of the Year back in 2014. Then in 2017, we did our first watch collaboration with them. If you all remember the Staghorn piece from that time, and that was really something. Adam has it on his wrist there. So that was something really special to us. And it was honestly the first time we actually did something live. We met the team from CRF, and we did a big press event that Adam was a part of, and we went down there and really got to experience the reef and see the work that was being done. And I really think that made a difference and kind of solidified the understanding of really what this is all about and why we're doing this thing. So this year we had the pleasure of in talking about another partnership with CRF, like how do we go about making the next watch. In 2017, it was really great because the number 2 piece, which is the first piece commercially available of all of our limited editions, basically we auctioned it off at the CRF Gala back in 2017, and we raised over $25,000 for those watches that went at that time. So when thinking about another partnership, we were like, what can we do that's really, really something that's auctionable, something that will really help the organization? So that was the genesis and the story behind the gold piece, the Carries Forward Gold. You know, we're not really known for making gold watches. It's not something that's, you know, $19,000 watches, or not something that we're normally something to do, and normally something that we do. But when we thought about this partnership and we thought about what would make a difference, this is why we came out with the first limited edition 50-piece Carries Forward Gold. That was what that was all about. That came out earlier in the year. So those are out. They shipped last month. I don't think there's any available left. They're pretty much sold out. But then also the Carries Forward Steel we launched in June. That's out there. So that's been the 2 really nice pieces we've done with CRF for this year, and they've been really successful. So we're happy to be part of that organization and to partner with them and to be part of that and to kind of give you guys something about that. We're going to introduce the next part of our segment. So I know Adam went through the goggles. That's what these are about, these virtual reality goggles. They're so if you have them and haven't put them together, it's pretty simple. I feel like I'm on the Food Network. You know, I'm preparing something, then I pull it out of the oven and here it is already done. So this is the goggles that you have. If you haven't put them together, it's very easy. Take the rubber band off the sleeve, pull the goggles out, and then they basically will come together. You open it up, and just like this, you affix the piece in the middle to the end and put it into the slot, and then you take the actual VR piece and put that into the 2 slots at the top, if you can see that. I don't know if that's something you can see.
And I have taken mine apart again, so I will, I'm happy to demonstrate again if people need it. But it is pretty self-explanatory. I think one thing I always remind myself when engaged in these types of situations is that it is designed for an idiot like me to figure out. So if I can figure it out, that means that basically everyone on the planet can figure it out. So I'm looking in the comments right now, and I want to see if anybody is struggling here. So now is the time to tell me.
And there is a good comment in there from Israel. She said that you have to remove the plastic from the lenses because that will impede what you're doing. So do that. If you could.
Yeah, Mark, you take the plastic off the lenses. That was just there to protect them from being scratched in transit or any of that. It's just like the plastic on your watch. You know, when you get that, peel that off. Now I'm trying to see if anybody else is having trouble here. So again, this is what you're gonna get. Piece of piss. Okay, that's constructive, I guess. So once you get it, it just sort of kind of will pop open like that. Now we've got our little dangly bit here. You want to take this, and there's a slot that it'll go into. And then you have the lenses, which also have 2 slots that they're going to pop into. Hold on. Oh, wrong. Here are the spots for the lenses. So you're just going to take that. They pop right in place. And you're basically, at this point, you're kind of done. What you have with the back here is this is where you're going to take your phone. Obviously, screen side you want facing you.
But not yet.
Not yet, but just to show you, because what's going to happen there is then the Velcro just goes right over, and now you have your completed goggles. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to keep this here on the side, and then
So we'll get going now. So,
Oh, thank you,
basically
Paul. No, I'm still learning my English colloquialisms. All right, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so you have that. Now what you're going to do is on the screen is going to appear a QR code. You're going to take your phone, you're going to scan the QR code, and basically it should pull up with your camera. You're going to scan the code or take a picture of the code, and it'll pull up a YouTube video that we're going to use for purpose of the presentation. But before we do that, I would like to introduce to you from the Coral Restoration Foundation, Martha Rossler, who's the Chief Development Officer, and Roxane Bustra, who's the Dive Training Administrator. And they're going to take us through this presentation, kind of walk us through what you're seeing and what you're experiencing as part of this. So please enjoy, and I hope no one is afraid of boats.
And we'll need Martha on screen, Drew.
Yep, I think there they are. Proper social distancing with masks, as you see. So, all right. So here's
all right, are we ready to dive in?
Yeah, I think so. So click on the QR code. All right.
Okay, well, I hope everyone has started. So let's start to check out a typical workday via virtual tour with the Coral Restoration Foundation. We're on our boat, heading out to one of our coral nurseries and then to the reef, specifically Carey's Fort Nursery and nearby Carey's Fort Reef. Now, right now we're just offshore of Upper Key Largo, which is part of the Greater Florida Reef Tract. Now, not many people know this, but Florida Reef Tract is the third largest barrier reef in the world at over 360 miles long. And it's the only one the United States has. As you can see, it's a really beautiful day today. We're all geared up and ready to dive, so come join us. As we're swimming around, use your goggles and the video to look around. Look up, down, behind you. This is one of our coral nurseries. It's a collection of PVC and fiberglass trees from which about 60 corals are hung or otherwise attached to. We can raise or lower these trees if there's a hurricane coming, or we can even do that from season to season as the temperatures change to ensure that our corals are staying healthy and comfortable. This particular nursery has over 100 trees right now. That's over 6,000 corals in this kind of small space. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is just one of our nurseries. We actually have 7, located from Key West all the way up to Carey's Fort Reef, where we are now. Together, they can produce over 45,000 corals to be reef ready every single year. It's not just one kind of coral though. We house a total of 11 different species with a focus on 4 species that are returned to the reef all year round. Because our coral nurseries are so large and healthy, they actually act as a living laboratory. This means that CRF can host groups from around the world and diverse science backgrounds, such as for the once-a-year coral spawning events, in which we recently hosted a group to cryogenically preserve coral sperm. The corals aren't the only tenants in the nursery, though. We invited a local nonprofit to survey the nurseries, and they found that the coral nurseries are actually more biodiverse than many of the reefs surrounding them. This includes little critters like conch and sea stars, but also the bigger and more unexpected ones like hammerhead sharks and eagle rays. Thanks to these trees, our corals can grow much faster in the vertical space you're seeing than in their natural reef environment. There's lots of reasons for this, but it all comes down to water flow. Since corals are animals that breathe, they're able to get more oxygen from the water flowing past them. They're also able to catch more food and to get more sunlight to energize the little symbiotic algae that live in their tissues. Because different coral species grow in different ways, our tree structures reflect the various morphologies and shapes of corals. We've been swimming through our branching corals, our staghorn coral, and right now we're swimming through the elkhorn coral. But these grow in really kind of chaotic 3D shapes. Soon we're going to start approaching a slightly different style tree that's meant for our boulder corals. Now, boulder corals are brain corals and other ones like that that form more of like a mounding or like a mountain kind of shape. So hanging in space doesn't really work for them. These trees that you see are nice and white and pretty, and they were just recently installed, and they're going to get their new corals soon. But as we turn the corner, you can see a tree that kind of looks like a TV antenna, and those are the boulder corals living there. Now, here you can see our team, and in order to bring the corals to the reef, we need to harvest them. We do this by either cutting pieces off or by cutting the entire colony down. We have to be really careful about counting the right number. And it's a lot harder than it sounds. On land, counting is easy, but on water, I usually have to count at least 3 times to make sure we're getting the right number. You can also see that here at CRF, we use highly technical and advanced materials like toilet brushes, handheld cutters, and milk crates. We joke about this a lot, but these cost-effective materials mean that our methods are transferable to pretty much anywhere in the world. If you look up now, or just a moment ago, you'll see that one of our team members was cutting down corals that fall in the sand. We collect these, put them in crates, and once they're harvested, we collect them and bring them back to the boat for transport. We are heading back to the boat right now, so be sure to equalize your ears. But once these corals are removed from the nursery, they're gonna go to their new reef home. All the corals we bring with us to the reef must be planted on the reef. There's no bringing back extras to the nursery to drop them back off again. So this means that our work plans on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis have to be really carefully calculated, and we need to make sure that all of our daily goals are met. So now we're going to surface and we're going to head over to the new reef home for these corals. And so here we are at the coral's new home, specifically Carey's Fort Reef. So while we're waiting to get the corals from the boat and we're hanging out on the surface, let's talk about why coral reefs are so important. Coral reefs are worth nearly, are you ready for this? $10 trillion on an annual basis globally. That value comes from tourism, fishing, and coastal protection. But we've lost nearly 50% of the world's coral reefs in the last 30 years. The Florida Reef Tract in particular only has about 1 to 2% of its historical hardcover habitat left. CRF's goal is to return the reefs of the Florida Keys to a functional level and to stabilize reefs so that they can jumpstart themselves into a healthy place. We do this by gluing these harvested corals to various reefs throughout the Keys, including Carey's Fort Reef. This is why having different coral species is so important. Just as a healthy forest needs grasses and weeds to hold dirt in place, it also needs big, strong redwoods to absorb energy from storms. A coral reef is similar. It needs biodiversity of coral species to stay strong and healthy and to provide habitat for all the critters, big and small, that call it home. Here's one of our team members hard at work outplanting coral. Now, I know that you've probably been told and that you've heard your whole life, don't touch coral, don't touch the reefs. So why are we now using a hammer on the reef? Well, the glue we use is a marine epoxy that will only stick to clean rock that's underneath all of the algae on the reef. Remember that the reef you're seeing was built over thousands of years by coral that lays down very thin layers of skeleton, and that's what makes that structure. Over time, the coral might die and algae will overgrow onto that structure. So we use the hammers to clean and to clear spaces so that the epoxy can stick. Our secret recipe is step 1, clean for the points of the attachment where the coral will be glued to the reef. Step 2, measure back and forth carefully with the coral so that you make sure your epoxy is placed accurately. Step 3, gently nestle the coral into the epoxy. And then step 4, this is a highly scientific method, take your hand and then wave a bunch of water at the coral. If your coral wibble wobbles, you're going to do it all over again. If your coral rolls away, you're going to go get the coral and then you're going to do it all over again. If that sounds simple enough, then let's dig into some details. You can see next to our team member here that the soft corals like the sea fans are moving back and forth. And frankly, our team member is moving back and forth too. We call this surge. If the surge is too strong, it's practically impossible to do restoration work or to dive safely. It's not great restoration or dive practice if both humans and corals are rolling across the reef. There's also lots of critters that are extremely interested in what we're doing. Sometimes we see them. It's all of these fish we're trying to call the new corals that we're outplanting home. And sometimes we don't. Last summer, we put a GoPro down to capture some everyday footage just for B-roll, and we accidentally caught a nurse shark who swam right through and past all of our outplant divers. And not a single diver actually saw the nurse shark. We only saw it afterwards on the video. You may be wondering how we've been doing during the coronavirus pandemic, and we've been doing really well. We're very lucky. We were able to get at least one team out every day that the weather allowed us, and we're well on our way to achieving our 2020 goal. In 2019, we outplanted over 32,000 corals, but it's our non-staff, our interns, our volunteers, our recreational dive programs who did nearly 75% of those 32,000 corals. Our small team can't achieve this alone, and we're hugely thankful to these dedicated people who work alongside us side by side every day. And now, if you're still following along with us, we're going to take a look at what parts of Carey's Fort Reef look like now. In 2016, 14 acres of Carey's Fort Reef was surveyed, and 18 colonies of wild elkhorn coral, a historically critical species, was found. By 2019, though, only 2 of those 18 colonies were still alive. So now you can see what Carey's Fort looks like now. Here's all the elkhorn coral that you can find around there. But nearly all the hard coral on Carey's Fort now are corals that CRF has placed there over the years. It's doing so well that we kind of consider it our signature reef. And we're well on our way to returning 30,000 corals total to the wild on this reef. That sounds like a lot, but to us here at CRF, that's just one of our milestones. We'll be at Carey's Fort Reef for the foreseeable future. We expect in the next 80 years that all coral reefs may go extinct. Let that sink in for a second, because we're not saying that a couple species of corals are going to disappear, or that maybe if you come visit the Keys, you'll have to have a snapper fish sandwich instead of a grouper fish sandwich, but that the entire ecosystem could be gone from this planet. That's nearly 25% of all marine species, a third of all fish species that might disappear, from lobsters and tuna to turtles to sharks and dolphins. What will our world look like or be like without coral reefs? Personally, CRF and us, we don't really want to find out. So thank you so much for joining us on this virtual tour today. We really hope that we'll see you again in the future, whether it is virtually again or whether it's in person.
So Roxane has just walked us through the story of how Coral Restoration Foundation does our work. And there is hope, but it's been a rough 40 years. In the last 40 years, as Roxane mentioned, we have lost over 97% of the coral cover in the Keys. Next slide. So let's take a look back at Carey's Fort Reef, where we were just visiting. This is a snapshot of where we've been since the heyday of 1975, where we have beautiful forests of elkhorn coral that are providing 3D coverage, habitat for fish, for sharks, for lobsters. And over the years, we can see how it has decimated to the rubble field that we see in 2014. But all is not lost. So, next slide. There's hope. And as you saw with our hard work on just one reef in the Florida Keys, the Coral Restoration Foundation is a nonprofit, and we're the world's largest reef restoration project. We're doing restoration at an unprecedented scale throughout the Florida Keys. So Carey's Fort Reef is just one of the sites that we're working at, but we're also working at 8 different reefs from Carey's Fort down to Key West. We've been working at this since 2007, and our work has just grown exponentially in the last so many years. So next slide. Thanks to the help of visionary companies like Oris and other partners and individuals, we've been able to return close to 30,000 corals to Carey's Fort Reef, and we'll finish this by the end of the year, and hopefully we'll exceed our goal. But this is just one of the reefs. Since 2014, we've put over 120,000 corals across reefs throughout the Florida Keys. So in this image, you can see what a difference just 2 years makes in the elkhorn coral that our team's been able to plant on Carey's Fort. So this just demonstrates there's hope. We can restore our reefs with companies like Oris helping to bring the plight of our reefs to the masses and help us share what we're working on. It's making a wonderful difference. So thank you very much. And I'm going to let VJ share a little bit more about this gorgeous timepiece, the Carey's Fort Limited Edition watch.
Sorry, I was muted, folks. So thank you, Martha. Thank you, Roxanne. I hope you guys enjoyed that that presentation. And the first thing that I really want you to understand about this is, like, this is why we do these things. The Coral Restoration Foundation, when we first started in 2014, was a smaller organization. They've grown since, and it's really, we undertake these projects and to try to bring awareness and try to bring global awareness to these small grassroots organizations such as the Coral Restoration Foundation that are doing this work that's painstakingly manual, that you see they're taking coral and they're planting it and they're actually hammering it into the reef. So it takes a lot to do this work. But the good thing about it is they've gone from the organization that they are, they've grown substantially over time. They've become this technique that they use, the PVC trees and the way they're going about replanting the reefs have become the worldwide standard in coral reef restoration. So we commend them on their work and what they've done. And so the timepieces that we've brought out, again, trying to bring awareness, Staghorn, this is the Carey's Fort, which commemorates exactly that, the 30,000 corals that are planted, the 5-year project that they've undertaken. But so you see, it's a beautiful aqueous piece. It comes in steel, it comes in orange with an orange strap. I mean, in the algae box that we've become known for in terms of, you know, trying to take the plastics out of some of our packaging and putting it into pieces like this. So this is the Carey's Fort piece, which many of you may have seen, might not have, with the beautiful blue dial, the internal GMT and the external 24-hour hand on the GMT. So this was something we came out with this year, this piece, and then as well the next piece, which is the gold piece, which you've seen. They are all sold out in the US in terms of out in the market. I don't know if there's a retailer or two that may still have one left, but they were pretty much sold on the way out. But if you can find one, good thing, if you can. The next thing that the story around this gold piece, you know, with COVID, we had a little bit of a setback in terms of what was planned with it. The Coral Restoration Foundation got 3 of these pieces, and with these pieces, they were putting them into auction, and they were able to auction the first one off before COVID, and then they usually have a gala every year, which is a huge gala. It's great, and they raise a lot of money from it, but due to COVID, it got postponed. So we're still in some understanding, still in some kind of planning on how we're going to auction this off. But please stay tuned, as you may see an auction for the number 2 piece of this series being auctioned in the near future. So keep an eye out for that. Okay. So thank you. Now, if there's any questions, I guess, with regard to CRF, and any questions for Martha and Roxanne with regard to the work they're doing, this would be, you know, kind of a good time to ask them. If there's questions about the watch specifically, we can answer watch specific questions a little later on in our session. But if there's anything you guys would like to know about their work or how they're doing it, please feel free.
We have a number of questions, Vijay. So let me
Awesome.
About the Coral Restoration Foundation. So the first one is from Thomas. He would like to know how long the coral can survive outside of the water.
Great question, Thomas. So we do actually transport our corals in water as much as we possibly can. We put them in big tubs. If we need to have a sleepover overnight, we'll put air bubblers in them as well so that they're nice and comfortable and healthy. But sometimes we do transport them dry. Our team has found that they can handle about an hour outside of the water. The corals will actually produce a lot of like snot and mucus to cover themselves with, which it gets kind of gross on the boat, but that is how they prevent themselves from drying out in nature if there's a really low tide, for example. So we try not to do it, but they can survive outside of the water for about 60 minutes.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I liked, sorry, the word snot, just never, I would associate with coral, but that's really interesting to know because it's like, I guess it's its own sort of protective mechanism.
Yeah. That's how I view it for myself personally.
So it's not a new perspective.
We have another question from Zev. He says you mentioned using simple, cost-effective supplies, which allows your process to be replicated across the world. Where else are groups doing this kind of work?
Yeah, so there are groups doing this around the world. We have groups in Australia using our coral tree methodology, which I think is another organization that Oris has supported through limited edition watches. And early on, CRF actually helped get a number of programs off the ground throughout the Caribbean. Bonaire, Curacao, Honduras, Saba, Jamaica, and the Grand Caymans. So those groups are now independent and working on their own, but they're very much using our methodology. We designed the coral tree and we've given that out freely to others to take that, that methodology and use it. And I'd say most other folks are probably using a lot of the fancy equipment like the milk crates and hammers and monofilament that we use to hang the corals as well. So. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. There's a number of folks that have the actual follow-up question to this, which I think is really, really lovely because this has been asked many, many times in the Q&A. What can we do to help? There's a couple folks that are local South Florida. They're saying they want to volunteer. They can, how can they contribute to your efforts? I posted it. There's a couple people asking about donation links. I posted a link to the website in the chat. But what else can people do to help? Like how can we as a global watch community, sort of help you achieve your goal of, not having the coral reefs disappear?
No, that's an excellent question. Thank you for posting the link. From the link, you'll also find great information on how to volunteer. Our volunteer program is paused at the moment due to COVID, but we hope to bring that back in the near future. So if you're interested in volunteering, check out our website and you'll find all the information you need on how to volunteer long-term with us if you're local, or join a dive program and just come down for a couple of days. But everyone anywhere can make a difference for our coral reefs. Finding a local environmental cause that matters to you and your own community and embracing that. I mean, all of our ecosystems are connected. So, whatever you're doing in your town, wherever you live around the world, whether it's, choosing not to use single-use plastics or thinking about your carbon footprint or trying to eat more sustainably, all of that adds up and makes an incredible difference. I will say, thank you to RedBar for having us on and Oris for hosting us today. We will be auctioning off the gold Perry's Fort limited edition with details to come. So helping us share that more broadly when we're ready to do that would be an amazing help as well with getting the word out. We are a nonprofit, so donations make our world go round and we make our work possible. And as Roxane said as well, we couldn't do the work without our volunteers. So, every little thing, every little gift, time people are able to give makes a big difference.
Great. You can also, guys, follow Coral Restoration Foundation on Instagram so that you can see when that auction is happening. Obviously, you all follow Oris already, but follow them both, and so we'll spread the word about that when it goes live, of course. But our members will be happy to help with that. Another question about volunteering: what dive qualifications would someone need to volunteer with the group? Because these guys, like I know there are a number of people in this audience that actually use their dive watches to actually dive, as opposed to desk dive, as we like to say. So are there dive qualifications, or if someone is qualified at a certain level, is that helpful for you guys?
Absolutely. I see that someone has already visited the website and posted in the chat some of the qualifications.
Thank you, Alex.
If you're looking to join us as a long-term volunteer, there are a lot of requirements and qualifications. You do have to come in with a certain number of dives, a certain amount of experience, a lot of safety qualifications like CPR, first aid, oxygen administration, your own dive gear. There's a lot, and you can find details on that on our website under volunteer and get involved. If that doesn't work for you and you're looking for a short-term experience or kind of just to see if volunteering is a good fit for you, you don't have all those qualifications, that's fine. We have programs throughout the year that are one-day kind of adventures where you do a morning of education, an afternoon of dives, and those are a lot lighter on the qualifications. You have to be at least open water certified and have been diving in the last 1 to 2 years or so. We ask that you're at least 10 years old.
I think
So,
most people here are more than 10 years old, except for
so I think it depends on people's time. The ladder program, the recreational dive programs, they are up and running right now because we're able to socially distance better than our volunteer programs. So if you're unsure, you can always complete the volunteer application, which is a survey under the volunteer tab of getting involved. Fill out the questions, it'll send to us, and we will get back to you and let you know what we think the best opportunity for you is.
Amazing. I will say this: I think the only person watching that is not 10 years old is, and you will see this in our Instagram stories, is Swaggy the cat. So one of our members, cat.
Yep.
The cat was watching the video and following along with the virtual experience. So there's a picture of that in our Instagram stories.
Awesome. We will go check. Thank you.
It is adorable.
Yes.
Very cute. Swaggy is a superstar. Another question from Gordon: what impact do you expect to see from your work in 25 years' time?
So that's a great question. And as Roxane alluded to, 30,000 corals at Carey's Fort Reef is an incredible milestone, but it is just that. We will be at Carey's Fort Reef and other signature reefs in the Florida Keys for decades to come. We've just launched a project in conjunction with NOAA and with the Florida Keys National Sanctuary Foundation, where we're going to be helping to bring these reefs back to historic levels. So there are 7 reefs in total that we're working on, including Carey's Fort, to bring them back to this incredible level of coral cover. We think this is possible. We think that we will be able to achieve this long-term restoration. And the world is watching. I mean, we have folks from the Great Barrier Reef, from the Red Sea, paying attention to what's happening in the Florida Keys. It is one of the most degraded reefs in the world. So if this level of large-scale restoration works here, it's possible to save the coral reefs around the world. So we're incredibly optimistic that within 25 years' time, we can have pockets of extremely healthy, thriving coral reefs once again.
Amazing. Another question from Matt: do you pass an electric current through the aerials?
That's a great question. So Matt's referring to one technique of restoration that's used in parts of the world where they actually pass an electric current for coral propagation and for coral growth. And it actually helps the corals to accrete a calcium carbonate skeleton a little bit faster. Some studies have found that those corals do grow faster, but they might grow a little bit more brittle. So we choose to let our corals grow at the faster rate that they can in that vertical tree system that we looked at earlier in the VR video, but we don't otherwise add anything else to them.
Okay. Another question here. There's one in here from Thomas. Are there efforts being made to find or engineer coral species that are more resilient to ocean warming and acidification?
So there are groups looking into that. There was a notable study happening in Hawaii. There are other groups looking into that closer to home in Florida. We don't really fall into the category of wanting to do any genetic engineering or choosing one genotype over another of our corals. We believe that diversity equals resiliency. So the corals that we're working with at any of our restoration sites, we're putting out 50 different genotypes of each of those corals. We have over 400 genotypes that we're working with within our nursery. At least 10% of those no longer exist in the wild, but they exist in our nursery. And these are corals that have stood the test of time and made it through the last 40 years of degradation. So these are strong, healthy, resilient corals. And those are the ones that we're using in our work. And by putting them out there in a great mix of diversity, we feel that that is going to be enough to save the reefs, since we really don't know what the conditions will be 1 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, let alone 50 years from now. Conditions can change. So we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket, to put it simply. So instead, there are groups working on that, and I think all research is relevant, but we're kind of going with just genetic diversity in the large scale work that we're doing.
And I'll add on to what Martha said, that corals like staghorn and elkhorn coral, it's very species specific, but staghorn and elkhorn coral have one chance a year to spawn. So that's their time, for sexual reproduction and to have a good time for about 3 days in a row. But by doing that, these very strong and resilient corals that have existing genetic diversity are now mixing those traits. So we're hoping that by allowing the corals to be healthy and to spawn, they're going to adapt and acclimate in their own time to a future that's constantly changing. So we feel that this is the most organic way so that the corals can continue themselves in a healthy way.
So I have something, we're coming up to our to time, but I have a very exciting news to share with you. We have a matching donation of $2,000 to the Coral Restoration Foundation. So if you folks are contributing, we have we've just added another $2,000 to that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you.
incredible.
Well,
What a surprise. Thank you.
This is one of our members, a wonderful guy, again, a stalwart, and so we really appreciate that. But I do know that we are pressed for time here. If there are more questions, though, I'm sure we can figure out how to get them to Martha and Roxane. And just, if I can say, thank you both. It's great seeing you, Martha, albeit behind a mask, and Roxane. It was a pleasure to make your acquaintance online. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thanks.
Thank you, ladies, for being a part as always, and always great to see you. And thank you for joining today. So
Yeah, we will, for the folks whose questions we didn't get to, we will absolutely get you the answers and get those out to all attendees.
okay, that's awesome.
Thank you.
No, thank you. And I think we've got more fun stuff for you here, people.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So that was the story behind the Coral Restoration Foundation and kind of our work with the CRF. The next, I'd like to jump into something different, but related to kind of our stories of trying to help tell the story of around the world of things that need to be told. Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk to you next about the project we just launched with the Roberto Clemente Foundation. Yeah. It is the Roberto Clemente limited edition that we launched on Wednesday. Some of you may have seen it. It's here if you have not, but we'll talk more about it. For those of you that don't know the story of Roberto Clemente was an all-star player with the Pittsburgh Pirates from 1955 up to 1972. And while he was an all-star in baseball and did a lot and accomplished a lot on the field, he accomplished much off the field, and yeah, he's very well known for his accomplishments off the field, for his humanitarian work. and unfortunately, Roberto died on New Year's Eve of 1972, which is 48 years ago, delivering supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua, taking it upon himself to go and deliver them himself, and unfortunately passed away. His plane crashed into the sea at that time. But in the time since, his family, his wife Vera, his children have carried on the tradition and the legacy of Roberto Clemente. And Major League Baseball every year has a Roberto Clemente Day, and they give a Roberto Clemente Award every year. It's given to, it's one of the highest honors you can receive in Major League Baseball. But the true beauty of it is that he did his work that many years ago, and there's still been this tradition, this family tradition of the Clementes to carry on. So we're gonna start with a video that kind of tells that story, and then we'll go from there. So.
We'll never forget you. We'll always love you. We are your living legacy. And will never drop the ball.
Playing right field, number 21, Roberto Clemente.
So I'm proud to bring you from Puerto Rico, from San Juan, Luis Clemente, who's the head of the Clemente Foundation, and he's going to share with us some topics about the story and the legacy of Roberto Clemente.
Powerful video.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Puerto Rico.
Hey, Luis, how are
currently
you?
at the Guaynabo Sports Museum. Good, good, good. Who's this? I'm sorry, I have my wife
It's
become
okay,
my
it's
camera
Adam.
person here.
I'm gonna shut up. I'll let you do
Adam,
it.
Adam, I was actually reading your text, and awesome. I get it. I don't know how many of you this video have touched. This video was put together just last Friday to become the opening of the Roberto Clemente Day, and I just thought it would be, you know, a very nice touch since we lost our mother last November. We will continue to pass our legacy through the new Clemente generations. That's what this video represents. So when I'm in right field and I catch the ball, first my younger brother Ricky starts to pitch from home plate, and it goes to his son, from his son to my sons. I receive it and I throw it out of the ballpark, and Roberto Jr., who's in Pittsburgh, receives it and then passes it on to the youngest Clemente. And that I say, and we'll never drop the ball, meaning we will continue the work that both of our parents actually put together and serve as inspiration. In this area, we started working, putting together an exhibit to, you know, portray my father. And at this point, while we were working on it, we decided, you know, to show the different assets that make him the icon he has become, and working with the youngsters, you know, and new generations. And we wanted to show you basically the different artwork that was put together. But the most important thing about my father is that he knew exactly the minute he started working with playing for the Pirates in the major leagues. He knew he was representing the minorities, the working class. He was representing the people that didn't have opportunities, the people that basically suffer in life. I remember seeing a video to suffer, so we could actually appreciate what true life is about. So that really resonated with me growing up. It was something that I could not believe, you know, what type of father wants their sons to suffer? But then later on in life, I understood, you know, as we continue, that would devote his time whenever he would come back from the clinics, from the playing in the seasons. He would come and he would devote a lot of time for the youngsters. You see, giving clinics, showing them, and he would travel all of Puerto Rico, and he would bring us, you know, he would bring us along. That's when we started. This is how we grew up learning what would truly matter to our parents. And this pose is like the proud pose that I really cherish most. It says so much, you know. He had to work so hard to be recognized. At the time he was playing, there was still racism was very strong, and he had to go through a lot of things. And he really resented the fact that the press would not give him recognition. And so he, you know, as great as a ball player he was, he had to work much harder than any player. So he could then have baseball become the platform to get his message across. He was an activist. Things that we're seeing today, he started many years ago, 48 years ago, even before. When Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, he caused for all of the Major League Baseball season to be delayed 2 days because he felt, you know, it was mandatory to pay respects to Dr. Martin Luther King. So now we see athletes today doing that as well. And at this point, I believe he would have been very active. Let's come this way, very active in making sure justice would be made. Okay, so here many people don't know that Dad served in the Marines as well. And, you know, you can show what he got. So Dad served in the Marines. He also served visiting people. He was inducted into the Marine Sports Hall of Fame in Quantico. And basically, you know, he was a man of a lot of character. The picture you're looking at, where I'm in front of the ocean that I was saluting, that picture I took the day before Clemente Day. And that is the point of reference to the accident where we would go every 31st of December. My brothers and mom to pay respects to that. Here, we're showing you the family man who basically spent as much time with us as he could after the season, because he was so proud of being Puerto Rican. He actually obligated mom to travel, so we will be born here. Here, you see all four of us with the 21. So that tradition started many years ago, and we continue to carry it. And basically, I just want to tell you, when we were putting this exhibit together, unfortunately, it's when mom passed. And basically, I decided it was fitting to do a tribute to mom in dedicating a separate area so people could see what dad accomplished, but then also mom's contributions, because mom did so much, but that light was so bright that I usually say that that's light overshadowed mom's accomplishments as well. So I am bringing you now to the new side we did through the foundation to honor our mother, who was Major League Baseball's Goodwill Ambassador. Please join us. And you'll see in this area, I have what mom was wearing when she was named the Goodwill Ambassador for Major League Baseball. And you have a picture with Derek Jeter hugging her as he received the Roberto Clemente Award. And also the actual award we were presenting. So we have like a 10-year timeline to show what has been the foundation's work in the past 10 years. Did you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, in this area, this is why I changed, because mom loved, her favorite flowers were yellow roses. And as a tribute to her, this is why I changed my sports jacket, to show the separation between, okay, what dad accomplished, but also paying tribute to mom. I'm carrying now both legacies of this incredible human beings that care so much for everyone, and this is what we learned to do. There's a collage I was saying, that was so proud, like I was saying, being Puerto Rican, that he knew he was representing and opening doors for every single Hispanic. So I want to show you right here, he always wore suits. And with VJ, here's a picture I was telling you about. This is Niagara Falls, and look at us. We're in suits.
Yes.
We were in suits everywhere, all the time, This is pictures when we were younger. Mom carried, Puerto Rican flag as well. And representing everything. And so here you can see some pictures of, what we've devoted our time towards, giving out clinics, helping others. This picture is very significant. This one here is when last time we were at mom's presence after her mass. And at that point I was telling my brothers, we really need to stick together to keep this going. Now it's on us. So it's amazing, our legacy, what we've been able to do. And at this point, I would like to tell you guys that, the reason we're here is because we're celebrating our incredible partnership with Oris Watches. It's amazing to be in front of all of you, and thanks to Oris, to spread and show what our legacy is about. So I want to tell you that we have plans of developing the complex Sport City, which is Dad's longtime dream, and we wanted to convert it into, something that is really representative of the greatness, like they used to call him the great one, of the greatness that he devoted towards everyone. He lost his life at a very young age. He was only 38. And basically, and we, as kids, we learned early on what our mission in life was. So I can't even explain how honored I am to have this partnership with Oris to help us spread our legacy. And our motto is building nations of good. I truly believe a lot of people, take it upon others to begin to take the first step to correct any bad doings, any negativeness in this world. But it's upon us. Everyone individually have to take a break, just stop for a second and kind of like realize what is that we're doing to really improve things. What are we doing? Not counting on others, not basically, waiting for anyone else to be the first one to take that step. And that's what we do. We start pushing those humanitarian buttons in everyone, because each and every one of us has that part inside it within us. But we try to be tough. We try to be, I'm the tough guy or whatever. And it takes a lot sometimes to take a step back and realize that what each and every one of us influences the whole wide world. So I'm totally honored to be here. VJ and I have become good friends in this process. I believe we have shed tears and the emotion. I mean, this is more than just creating a watch and selling it. It's much more than that. And in the process, I think it is amazing that it was launched on Roberto Clemente Day. You can't have it any better than that. So we're very proud of the piece. Everyone who has seen it, we have Al Leiter immediately after he got it, he put it on. And then also Harry Reynolds, he sent me pictures this morning. And in appreciation, I sent him the picture where I'm standing and saluting in front of the point of reference to the accident. And his comment was, the watch is outstanding. The picture is unreal. And he actually texted me and said, put MLB Network on right now. And what I did, he was talking about the Oris watch and how great it is and everything. And also he says, but I think I find it very, very fitting to end the week with this image of Louis, in front of the point of accident. So it's been an incredible, incredible week for us, for our legacy. And I couldn't wait for today to be with you, sharing this time and talking about now the watch. Beautiful, beautiful piece. It really captured that character, that is very elegant, but then again, humble. And I think, it's sporty, but it's also classy, very classy. And I feel that a lot of people, yesterday, I was doing a live interview and I took it off and showed it and turned it around. And oh my God, the comments were unbelievable. Everyone's like, that is so gorgeous. That is incredible. And they were, giving a lot of accolades to Oris for doing this. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this opportunity. So VJ.
It's great. It's great.
I can't see the screen. So I'm sorry if what I'm saying doesn't match with whatever you guys are seeing. But I'm very, very excited.
I think in the general scheme, like, we wanted to bring you kind of this story, and Luis down in the museum there talking about the legacy, and I really think that's kind of the whole reason why we've done this. It's yes, it's a beautiful watch, and you've seen it, and it's great, and I love it, and a lot of people do, but it's really kind of telling the story, bringing the foundation's work, bringing the work of Roberto Clemente, who's a great hero among many people across the world. And really, it's something that, you know, we're very, very proud of. And really, we wanted to share with you again the emotion and the reason why we do things, not just what we've done and what we've created, but really why we've created this and why we've done this. And I think, you know, I think in seeing that, you can kind of get a sense of that. And I know we try to do our best with the virtual, with the technology and things, but I really think to kind of feel the story and to feel the emotion behind it, I think is really what makes it great. And I hope you all have been able to feel that today and kind of see that to us. So, you know, I think that the place that Luis is and what Luis was talking about and the museum is just something beautiful. And I think, you know, our hope is that we would have been there in person and been able to do something around that. But at the moment, obviously we can't, but the next best thing is kind of bringing us here. So, Luis and his family and his brothers, and especially his mom, who passed away recently, as he said, really were instrumental in continuing this legacy. And really, you know, in Major League Baseball, there's 30 teams that nominate someone to receive this award who do community work, who carry this legacy. And I think it's really important to recognize that and recognize that it's not about, you know, the game of baseball. It's about what people are doing beyond the game of baseball to make this happen. So, you know, I think that's really what it's about. It's been a pleasure working with Luis on this project. So, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, I can say the same. I've been reading the comments of some of you folks that are here, and very inspiring. That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us, you know, fueled to continue to do what we do. And I really appreciate, you know, everyone. So, Adam, I know everyone but you was crying earlier. I know that, right?
Yeah, no, I wasn't crying. You were crying. Don't look at me.
Yes.
Really wonderful. Thank you for taking us on the tour. I know some people, it was a little, you know, staccato at times. These are some limitations of the technology. I wish we could all be there with you, but just so inspiring. And if you've been reading the comments too, you know, what I think is wonderful that comes across is just how genuine Oris is in terms of how they approach the charities and foundations they work with. You know, the watch is a wonderful tribute to your father. I'm just so happy that we have you here. I see you got the new AirPod.
Actually borrowing my wife's.
Oh, well, you know, that's what, we're lucky to have smart women with us. My wife pretty much set me all up today. So, yes. Really, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Let me show my wife. She's been my assistant here, and there she is. Olga.
Hey, Olga.
Nice to see you.
That's the one who put up with me.
Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask Luis while we have him?
Please, if you have questions for Luis, please put them in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. So we can ask questions while we've got him here with us. If it's questions about the watches, we can answer those at the end of the session. But any questions for Mr. Clemente? So I actually have a question. So I was, can you tell us a little bit more about the plans for you know, the center that you showed us? What's the timeline for that?
Well, Sports City right now, there's some investors that they count with a line of credit to invest. What they're talking about is up to $1 billion. So we are currently waiting for two government agents to basically, you know, vote in favor of it, and so we can get started. You know, we're right there. We're about to, you know, that's all it takes. We're waiting for those two votes, and once that takes place, then we're out and running.
Okay. So we actually had some discussion in the chat while you were giving us the tour that
Okay.
about the bat that your dad used to use and how heavy it was. You know, some folks were commenting that that he used quite a heavy bat. Do you know why he used such a heavy bat?
That was such, he was very logical about everything he did. And as the season progresses, people tend to pretty much use a lighter bat. But what he would do was he would swing slower and wouldn't have to really push as hard. But so he would get a heavier bat, so the point of contact then will be more explosive. So his logical sometimes was totally backwards from most of the people, but it definitely worked for him. So he did a lot of that. He would go to the outfield and throw balls against a wall in different angles, and basically try to learn if he couldn't get there in time, then how would the ball react? So he would run to the opposite side if he could not catch it in the air and position himself to be able to grab it and then make a play. So he studied the game like no one else did, and that's what the results show his records. He was an incredible studier of the game.
Absolutely. This question comes from Vasu. He says he always asks this of pro athletes, but he'd like to know if your father saw baseball as a job or whether he just loved playing his entire career.
Baseball was a platform to get his message across. Baseball really presented him an opportunity to expose, the way he thought. Like I said, he was an activist. He actually co-founded the Major League Baseball Players Association, and he became the first players rep to be able to represent all players, not just Latinos or Hispanic, all players across the board, because he fought for equality. He would also often say that he was not asking to be treated better, but he was demanding to be treated equally, which is different. So that's who he was, and that's the flag he carried all along throughout his career.
Wonderful.
Does anybody else have, or Adam, do you have any questions?
None in particular. I do see that there was a question for Oris about the design of the watch, so I don't know that I can speak to that.
Actually, I have one more for Luis, which is about, it's another thing about activism, and then I think we can go into the watch questions. Sorry, it just popped up while you were talking. It says, this is from David Forbes. He says, his understanding is that your father was incredibly proud of his Afro-Puerto Rican heritage. Can you speak about this and its importance in his ascension in Major League Baseball?
Well, absolutely. He knew, like I said, that he was representing the poor people, the common people of America. He was representing those that didn't have a voice. And being Puerto Rican and Black, basically he had 2 strikes against him because he didn't speak the language. The first time he left Puerto Rico was in 1954. And instead of going to the US, he was sent to Canada, to Montreal. So he didn't speak English, nevertheless, French. And it was very, very rough, very tough for him to adjust, understanding why would he be neglected to enter into restaurants? Why was he neglected to be able to, drink water in everyone's water fountain? But he spoke his mind. When they would travel in buses, he had to wait with the other teammates, African Americans, for the rest of the teammates to eat dessert, to have the time in the restaurant, and they will be sitting in the bus, waiting for them to bring them food afterwards. And Dad says, you know what, this is it. I'm not going to continue to do this. and he spoke with management, and they got him a separate station wagon so they could move along. But he would tell the rest of the players, those of you who would basically accept food from this place, we're gonna go at it. And the rest of the teams would say, well, Roberto, we need to eat. You know, there's no way, we have to eat something. And he would say, if we're not good enough to be served in that restaurant, that food is not good enough to feed our soul. So, I mean, he was very proud. He was like really not putting up with being treated as a third-class citizen. And he says, I don't want to be treated as a Puerto Rican. I don't want to be treated, you know, as an African-American. I want to be treated as a human being. And everyone should have the right to be treated as such.
Thank you. Well, I'll hand it back over to you, VJ.
Yes, I think it's really, truly a remarkable man. I think the fact that his legacy still lives on, his legacy of humanitarian work still lives on in baseball. They give a Roberto Clemente Award every year to someone, I think is just pays tribute to who he was and the work that his family, that Vera, his mom, or his wife, Luis's mom, and Luis and his brothers do, is amazing. You know, and I think as a mention of the watch itself, going to the watch, you know, it's a limited edition piece of 3,000 pieces, and what we've done is we've set aside the winners that have been given the award since 1972. There's been a winner, and we've set aside those numbers. So, for example, Derek Jeter won the award in 2009. He will receive the 2009 of 3,000 piece of that watch, and it's really we had really something nice on Wednesday, Roberto Clemente Day in baseball, and you see some of the images across the board of you know, those days. Here you see some pictures of the watch. This is compliments of Ty in RedBar Milwaukee, who took these beautiful pictures. So give a shout out to Ty. Yeah, but you know, I think you see kind of the impact it's had, and some of those awards Luis gave out. Al Leiter and Harold Reynolds, who are both past award winners, who are broadcasters on MLB Network, he gave them out on Wednesday. You saw that. There's Al Leiter and Harold Reynolds. It's, if you guys haven't seen this clip, go to MLB Network and watch this clip, because it really truly shows what this, especially Al Leiter, when he speaks about it, it shows what this award means to them as people, not just players, but really what the award means. And, you know, we at Oris are very proud to be part of this, and really a pleasure to work with Luis and his family on this, and be able to be part of this whole, you know, really get involved with the Clemente Foundation. It's been truly an honor and a pleasure to do so. So, and, you know, not to mention the watch itself is just, you know, really a true, beautiful, beautiful piece. So, proud to have it and proud to wear it. So, yes.
Thank you. I wanted to add that in the work we're doing with the foundation, in building nations of good, you know, we're working to build resilient homes here in Puerto Rico, and then afterwards, you know, do that across the world. And we've been working to get what I call the legacy program, which would be all the students in all different Roberto Clemente schools. Whenever there's a natural disaster, we want to be able to activate them so they can go out in the community and help us out by collecting the necessary aid to be sent out to victims of natural disasters, so they can feel, you know, how great it feels to help. And we're working on putting that together. There's a new school that will be named after my father in Orlando. That's going to be the most recent one. But there's many places named after him, and that's what we're doing. We're activating the humanitarian side of everyone to be able to contribute in building nations of good. So you are a big part of this, and I really thank, once again, Oris. I thank you, VJ, everyone here involved, because it's been an incredible experience.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing everything with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Adam. I think you're becoming one of my new best friends.
Indeed, indeed, it's my honor.
Great. Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luis.
Okay, bye-bye.
So, thank you. All right. So at this point, I see we have another special guest that's joined us. I'd like to introduce, for those of you who may or may not know, Rolf Studer. I know many of you have seen Rolf, who's our global co-CEO. He's here, and he's
Rolf,
coming.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
we're doing great.
So
You're lucky I don't have any snuff with me.
So we've asked, Rolf's going to join us. I think it's for those of you who got all of our, swag, the mugs, the bourbon. Some of you got bourbon, some of you got Jack Daniels, some of you got Johnny Walker. But please pour yourself. And what we'd like to do is just have a general session. If anyone has questions with regard to Oris and product, whatever it is. Certainly, Rolf has been very involved in RedBar, and we've asked him to join us and say hello to everybody. And so please feel free if there's anything, or just
Bullet crew right here, Chris. Yeah, guys, you've got two of the horses' mouths right here. So really use the opportunity. Hold on, we have another special guest coming. We have Mr. Nibbles. Now he's already had some of the bourbon. So he's getting a little, he's an angry drunk, but I'll leave it at that. But Mr. Nibbles is here, and Rolf, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing very well. I'm in Switzerland at home. We have a beautiful weather, so it was a great day, and just sorry.
Oh, look, Adam has his interrupt you, but he's making an appearance. We've got a guest there with Adam.
Hey, no. He gets angry. He's an angry drunk.
Sorry.
Oh, please go on. Sorry.
Yeah, just watch presentation now with Luis, and it's one of these moments that really make you proud to work for this company. That you're able to support such causes as Luis and Roberto Clemente's by what we do. Yeah, that's really, it's a privilege to do that. And thank you for the platform you give us to share these stories, and it's really inspiring to hear what he has to say. And yeah, it made me very happy to watch that. And thank you, VJ. You were the one who initiated that project. I think a job very well done, and I'm so glad that we were able to do this. And yeah, makes me proud and happy.
Yeah. Okay, he's getting angry.
We have a few questions for you guys. We'll ask we'll hold one of them for after we've had a drink.
Yeah.
The first one is, what is the one thing that you think sets Oris apart from other brands selling watches at similar price points?
I think it's our independence. I think independence is what makes us really different. And it's not only financial independence from a big group, but it's mostly independence as a mindset. Be able to do what you want, what you believe in, use stories that make sense to you, not always going after the short-term profits, but just following what you believe in. And that we can do, and that is another privilege working for Oris, and I think that truly sets us apart from other companies.
We have a couple more questions. There's a lot more questions.
A lot more questions.
A lot more questions. Let's see. Let's not get into specific watches, but let's actually get, I think this is an interesting question. How do you find the foundations you want to work with? Like, how do you make the choices which charities that you, or charities or foundations or all of that you would like to work with?
It's really about people. When we meet these people and see that they have the will and the spirit to make a difference, that they burn for their projects, then we know that's something we want to support. And as we have been doing that for a number of years now, we really have developed a network. It's a tight-knit community in environmental field, a little bit like in watches. and you start to get to know each other, and one leads to the other. And I think we have been able to really choose projects where we could make a difference, and where people that are in these projects make a difference, and that's how we make these choices.
Okay. A couple of questions about watches specifically. Any plans of adding another pointer date with a small seconds? This is from Kevin. He had an Atelier pointer date for a while, and he deeply regrets selling it. So he would like to know if there will be another one in the future.
Well, pointer date with a small second is signature movements of Oris. We made that in the old times. Yes, would be nice to have it back. It's certainly something we have been thinking about. So yeah, let's see.
Okay, well, you've got at least one request for one in here. We've got another question from Brad. He would like to know when we will see more watches with the caliber 115. He loves the open work movement and its display, but it's an aesthetic he prefers as an art piece rather than an accessory, or rather than, so he'd like to know if there will be more watches with that caliber.
Well, we certainly work on our own calibers, and you will see very nice things coming from us still this year. That year, we really had to change our planning about every 3 weeks with that whole Corona situation. And what was planned to be Basel releases, Basel that didn't happen and unfortunately won't happen again, dropped over the year. And the biggest thing is yet to come. So in a few weeks, I think we will have very interesting and very good news for you.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions. We've got time for a couple more questions, and then we'll move moving into our cocktail party. Fahim would like to know, can you talk about Oris's approach to product development from design through to delivery, and how do you see your future product lines? Do you see them narrowing or broadening? So I'd like you to take the first part of that question first. I think you guys, because you're independent, you have your own, kind of thought process around that. So if you take the first part and then maybe the second part afterwards.
Yeah, well, normally we travel, we meet people, we get inspired by these people we meet. You guys are certainly an important inspiration, and whenever I travel and I'm able to attend a RedBar meeting, they're always great nights. And you guys actually are responsible for the approach we have in product development and marketing as a whole, inclusive versus exclusive luxury. That is something I really learned with you guys. For many years, it was a watch, as a status symbol, must be my neighbor jealous, it's something to show off. And you guys are so different. You go to a meeting and there is everything from a $50 watch to a $50,000 watch. And it's not the most expensive or the most crazy watch. It's the watch with the best story. It's the watch with the person who has something to tell about that timepiece. And I think that's really what makes the difference today. And that's what people are looking for. It's not to show off that much anymore. It's really shared emotion about that thing you love. That happens to be a watch, no matter at what price point. And this is inclusive in the true sense of the word, and really drives our thinking. And also, and then we come back to product development. A watch only has one purpose at the end. It must make you smile, right? It must make you happy. If you look at your watch and it doesn't make you smile, throw it away, right? There's no sense in having that watch. And this is how we approach watchmaking in Hülstein. We have ideas, we bring to paper, we discuss with the designers. But if a project advances and you're like, bah, but it's really a phrase at Oris. It doesn't really make us smile. It's gone, it's killed. And I think we have become a little bolder over the last few years because we follow just that thought that at the end it must cheer you up, and if it doesn't, it's worthless. So yeah, that's how we do watches.
Perfect. I think we're about out of time, but I think VJ, we had one more thing to announce. And for those of you whose questions we didn't get to, we will get back to you with those answers afterwards. We'll send out an email after the event. But VJ, I know a lot of people when they got their packages from Oris, they were like, mug, I know what this mug is for.
Yes.
Put the cocoa in it, or I put the whiskey in it, or I put both of them in it. We know what that's for. The goggles, you know, they have an explanation. They have instructions on how to assemble them. But everybody was puzzled by the bags. So let's talk about the bags. Because people are now saying, you know, Rolf says if the watch doesn't make you happy, throw it out. Is that what the bag is for? So we're now.
That is in case what the bag is for, people. My address I will give you, and you put your watches in this bag and you send it to me.
Yeah. So VJ, I'll let you talk about what this is about.
I think we're out of time. It's nice to see you all.
Okay. Yeah, I know. You know, I hate it when that happens. All right, later.
No, so as you know, we at Oris, we're very much, you know, about helping the environment and doing that. So this upcoming Saturday is World Cleanup Day for Oris. So what we've done is we would like you as a group, I know there's a large number of RedBar participants across the board, and we would like you guys to be involved and help us in terms of cleaning up and being part of Cleanup Day. So what this trash bag is, this is a biodegradable trash bag, and we're asking you, a compostable bag, and we're asking you to go out and fill this up. And I know, you know, some of you are not near the ocean, some of you are, or some of you are near water, or locally there's trash, but we're asking you that through next weekend to go out and fill up this trash bag with trash, and basically submit your entry to Oris Cleanup Day 2020, tag it in the hashtag that's on the screen, and then submit your entry to us with your Instagram post, and we will be picking a winner to win a Carries Fort Reef limited edition with regard to those photos and who else. So we want to, you know, we're asking you guys to really participate with us to help doing this. Obviously, you know, the love of watches is what drives us all too. So we want to make sure there's a watch in it, but really help us do that and really raise the awareness of this and raise the awareness of what's going on and helping us to do that. So that's what this is about. So
I want to point out to people, especially Vasu, if your cat has destroyed the bag, you can use another garbage bag. It doesn't have to be an Oris branded one to participate in this. So what we want to see are pictures of people, you know, getting out there and doing something good for the environment. And what's interesting too, and this makes it very personal to me, is that the Instagram photo, whatever, has to be done by December 26th. And they did that because that's my birthday. So I really appreciate the thoughtfulness there.
actually, you were born on September 20th because that's when it has to be done by. But other than that, it's okay.
There's that too. But yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, that was, no, they didn't do anything for me. Sorry.
We do. We always do things. So,
but no, this is a wonderful thing, and it shows your commitment again, as always.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I just, again, as I said in the beginning, and I'll say again, just thank you to all of you. Thank you for always kind of being welcoming to us as Oris and really helping us, and, you know, really just enjoying what we do. And we try to make it a partnership that you know, we do, that everyone is on board with. Thank you for always welcoming us to events. I mean, I speak for myself, you know, Rolf knows, and the whole team knows, you know, whether it's London or it's Switzerland or it's Australia or the UK, whether it's Birmingham, Alabama or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or places we've been, and we've been
everywhere.
You know, whether that's, again, you know, in person or these days virtually, you know, thank you. Really, just thank you for having us, and thank you for appreciating what we're doing. You guys, by far, you know, you give us great job satisfaction, I guess, is to say, and kind of what we're doing and how we're going about it. So, you know, and I thank you all. Rolf, I thank you for joining us too.
Yeah, thanks, Rolf.
Yeah, no, it's definitely later for you out there. And folks, if this seems like some mutual admiration society thing going on here, again, it all comes from the heart. I just have to say, you know, we love you guys. We love what you do. I think a lot of people today got a much better close-up look at how genuine you are in terms of your charities and the good work that you do. We wouldn't be as excited to always have you on board if you guys weren't as freaking awesome as you are. So I have to throw a little bit of that back at you.
Thank you. So everyone, we're going to move into our cocktail party. We have a live DJ. So we're going to take a little break for about 3 minutes to switch over. Drew is going to post a link in the chat. So